Not sure for how long I'm gonna stay here, but I'm going to study the react-DOM and react-reconciler. If I stay for a long time, I'm probably gonna remove the camera after. So I realized something when I was playing around with this, is that the resolution here is off when I use this one, but it is only off on this situation where there's like full screen, which is really weird to me, and I have no idea why this is happening. So that's another thing that I have to figure out and think about. And yeah, here it looks fine, but then if I do it with the full resolution, it fucks up, and I really don't understand what's happening here. So this made me realize another thing, that because I was thinking about what could possibly be the case, why is this the case? So I thought that the difference between the two is obviously that the code editor has the button for sending the data and getting and setting the state of the context. It's on another level of the component, so it's one level lower on the pixie graph page. But the button on when you click the thing, because when you click it works fine when you click on the display graph. So like it's still the same. So this button is at the same level of is like the parent of the nodes, but the code editor is like it's not even a sibling, it's like on another part of the branch of the tree. So that's the only difference between them. And the other one was that it was setting state because of the loading, but then I commented out and still the same problem. So I assume that it's something to do with the way that React is handling state and updating the components. That's the only thing that makes sense, because I don't think it's something related to the screen, because then this one wouldn't work at this width as well. So, but then it is strange that it is working, like it displays the correct way if I have a smaller screen. So like it's really weird why this is happening. I have no idea, but it made me think that it's actually better to, and I don't know why I didn't think like this before, but it's actually a lot better to move the div to inside of the component, this component here, and then use the ref from here, because that way I don't have to pass the ref as props, and that way I also encapsulate the component. Like I make the width and height be coupled with the component, which is a lot better, I think, than before. The reason why I thought about this is because I thought that one potential reason would be the width and height, but then I realized that it doesn't make sense, but I still decided to change anyway. So yeah, now like there's still a bunch of things to solve, and I'm not really sure how long it's gonna take for me to understand what is going on here. Especially this effect that is really interesting. And like it's really, I have no idea why this is happening. So, and it's hard because I don't even know like what to search for. I think it might be something related to the screen, like to the pixel ratio thing, instead of being related to the rendering. Yeah, what I want to do today is just study I downloaded React locally. So I want to understand how React creates. Actually, I want to start with react-reconciler, maybe, because I want to figure out what's the entry point for react-reconciler. On the host config here, there's the other file. Like I want to understand what this value is gonna be. So it takes the host config and calls this, and then it's gonna use this to update and create the containers, and it's gonna use that to update the stage. So I think I understand now better than I did before what is going on. It's like the custom React renderer is just for the stage and for all the elements inside of the stage. And the elements inside of the stage are display components. So it's like you're encapsulating a custom renderer only with stuff that is related to Pixie that uses a display component as the bottom class, let's say. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And then the rest of the application is going to be on the base renderer. So like you're encapsulating all the parts related to the visualization of the canvas on this custom component. But I still have the same questions I had from last time of what is going on there. Like trying to understand more. I need to understand what decides the sequence of updates, like which component is going to update first. It seems like it's always the parent that is unmounted first. And then after the parent unmounts, it unmounts all the children. But then I want to understand why. And also want to understand what is the point of calling the update function on Pixie Fiber here. Like what is this supposed to do? Because obviously I want to be able to fix the problem that I'm getting here, where the app is destroyed and then I can't remove the event listeners on the child components because it doesn't have access. And I also want to understand this other problem now, which is really interesting. So I think the only way to do that is to look at the source code, and it's probably going to it's probably going to take a lot of time because there's a lot to look into. So yeah. So ReactDOM is here. What's that? I'll put some music. I think I'm gonna put music for the stream as well, and then if it gets taken down, we don't really mind that much. Never listened to this playlist before, or this mix. Maybe I'll listen to some piano. I want to listen to something more chill, I think, today. Yeah, well, look at this. There's so much stuff to look into. Like the thing is that I was trying to study based on the host config. But the thing is, like, even though I understand the cycle now, based on the stuff that I studied of what component, like how is the cycle for mounting and unmounting the component when using class components, like there's no way to even understanding the cycle. It doesn't allow you to understand exactly what happens during the cycle. Like the functions are gonna run in a certain sequence, but like I need to understand how they are related to the one using the reconciler. That's the part, like what is the connection between the two. And then you can look at these functions here, but then it doesn't allow you to understand like what is happening under the hood with the reconciler. Like at what point the reconciler connects to the normal ReactDOM. I guess that's what I want to clarify, because I need to clarify in my mind how is the cycle of the reconciler, how is it working, the cycle on the reconciler, and how is the cycle on the ReactDOM working. Okay, I just want to get more clarity over, like, once the application, once the page loads, obviously every time you change the state is gonna re-render, cause a bunch of re-renders. So what I want to get more clear in my mind is how does this process of changing the state on one component or one part of the application is gonna trigger the chain of connections of mounting and unmounting. Because as I'm thinking now, it's just a bunch of cycles, right? So every component is connected to each other. So is the whole thing about the video about the fiber where, like, it's gonna go from the parent to the children, and then it's gonna flag everything, and then when it's going up, it's gonna complete work. But then, like, it's still, like, on the concept level is easy to understand, but if you're thinking about all this stuff that is happening inside of the components, like, how do I think about that? That's the thing. Especially when it comes to context, I think. Maybe context is the thing that is fucking up. Because the context allows you to move one part of the state into other parts of the tree without having to pass down, from top down. So how is the... Because as far as I use, like, as far as I coded stuff so far, whenever I'm using state, I never had this problem of the child component that didn't have not having access to the context because the parent mounted before when I was using the normal components, like the ReactDOM, the normal ReactDOM. So I don't, and if it is the case that the parent is always removed first, then why didn't I have this problem before? That's the thing, because if that's the normal way that React works, it should unmount the parent component first, which would be the provider of the context. And if it does that, then the children don't have access to the provider anymore to be able to remove event listeners or unmount. So the question I have is, why didn't I have this problem in the past whenever I was using components? Because obviously if you change the context, it's going to change the provider, because it is the thing that is providing the context. So, like, these components are always linked. So I think I want to understand, how does React decide what is going to be the thing that... So I need to both study react-DOM and react-reconciler to know how does that process work, but I don't know which one to start first, and there's a lot of stuff, so, like, I also have to spend some time thinking about it, if there is an easier way to understand, because it might be just too much time to try to understand everything. I don't understand why I'm getting these errors. I was importing type, but it's not a TypeScript file. Interesting. I didn't modify this, I just downloaded straight from GitHub, so I don't understand why this is happening. But, well, whatever, because it doesn't matter that much. Just install this so it's easier to traverse the files and see what's going on. Yeah, so I think what I need to clarify is the thing about the state. How does... And I think it works, like, from the videos I saw, and what I understand so far, it works with the request animation frame and the request idle callback. So, like, it first mounts everything, creates the virtual DOM, the real DOM, and then it sets up the request animation, which is the work loop. And I think that inside of that work loop, whenever there's a change on state, it's gonna trigger the React fiber, which is gonna flag everything, like what is higher importance and what is lower importance. Then after that, it's gonna commit the updates. It's gonna update and then commit. So I need to understand how this process works. And that's really weird that it is JS here and there's a bunch of types. Don't understand why. I think it's probably better to start with ReactDOM first, because I need to understand the way that it works usually, and then I will go into the reconciler. Because I think all the reconciler does is based on this host configuration, so you're just like, there's the standard configurations of the way that it does things, and then the host configuration is going to be the key is the standard way that it usually happens, and the value is going to be the way that you want to customize. So I think that's what's happening. So here you would be, but there is some parts of this that you pass functions if you're gonna allow mutation. But I guess it's the same thing. Like you're just passing the functions with the same name, and then you pass whatever functionality you want. So, except this stuff about the host, which I think is like some additional stuff we have to pass just to create the link maybe. So here, for example, create instance is the way that it usually works with the ReactDOM, and this value is the new way that you want it to be done. So I think once I understand really well how React usually does things, then I can look into this. So I guess the main thing that I want to know is the moment the state is changed, is the process of updating components look like. Maybe if I spend a bunch of time and I don't get, like, or it's taking too long to understand, I think the best route to go about it would be to try to figure out how to use the fiber, which I think ultimately is probably what I'm gonna do, because I think the solution of commenting this out is not very good, and I also have to understand more. I have to explore more on how. I guess I need to spend a bunch of time studying Pixie.js as well to understand better how the classes are connected on the like Pixie viewport, and the hierarchy, like how does the. Maybe what I can do is just download the Pixie.js locally, all the functions that I have there, and then I can create another project. I think that's a good idea. I create a simple other project and then I download the pixie.js files locally so I can explore how the functions work on. After you create the application, how does it choose which renderer to use? So I can console log the functions there and understand more how that works, and then also try to understand like the hierarchy of classes in the pixie.js, so I have like a better picture in my mind, and also like mainly try to understand the event system. I think how does the event system supposed to work? So also so I can add another events in the future, because I'm gonna have to add separately, I think, from Pixie viewport the events related to the elements. So, but I think that the route that I'm probably gonna go for fixing the unmounting stuff is just use this Pixie fiber, and then I need to figure out what method can I call, or how, if it's one of these methods, how should I change the arguments here so that the event listeners of the custom component are unmounted first before the app gets destroyed. Or the other solution would be to comment this out and then I destroy the app on the Pixie, the custom component. That's another solution, I think. So that way, yeah, and probably a put on a mount here, will mount. But this, like, it seems wrong because maybe it is the same instance, but it seems kind of, seems that it's not the best approach. And the thing is, I don't think there's a reconciler here, that's a problem. I guess it's just downloading the whole file when it uses the react-reconciler thing. I guess the other thing I can do is just console log here. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I just... Yes. I can console log both. As I wanna understand what is this thing here. I don't think that here it has any reconciler function. And maybe it doesn't have the default export as well. Yeah, it doesn't have. It has this function. So I think it, like, this stuff is the whole, the reconciler is the whole file, but then what is, how are you passing, how does passing the argument work? Yeah. It's just an object with a bunch of functions. I don't understand how it's possible that if the file takes an argument, it doesn't make sense to me. Oh, it's reconciler. Oh, it's config. It's probably something that happens when you compile everything. Or use the rollup thing to create the package. Yeah, so I think it is what I was thinking. Like you just pass the object, and then based on the object, you're gonna create all these different variables, and then it just changes the functionality based on the variables. I think that's how it works. So you're just creating key value pairs to tell it how to change the way that it works. So I think I'm gonna study ReactDOM first. And maybe I should figure out how to work with this thing here, React Developer Tools. This is mainly delaying this out of laziness, I think. or just comfort zone. Yeah. It's probably actually you can put it on the document, I think, or the head script tags on Next.js. It's kind of annoying. Or maybe I'll do that later, watch some videos off stream to learn the basics of how to use the React developer tools. And let's see if I can put on the documents. Yeah, whatever. So I'll look into this later. There's also something I was reading that had the page to the ReactDOM entry point, I think. Or maybe it's just better to go directly to it. So it's better to understand ReactDOM first, so that first I need to understand the way that it works on the standard way, and then see how they change it. But I think like the main point is probably because I don't understand enough the way that ReactDOM works. I think once I understand that, it's more likely that I will be able to find a good solution. Then I think that, like, I think the problem that I'm getting is not because there is a significant fundamental difference between the way that they implemented that custom renderer and the way that React implements the rendering. I think it's something else. But I don't understand why I never got this problem when using context in normal React components, so it might be because of the difference in the implementation. It would be good as well if I could figure out how to use the stack trace on JavaScript as well to build graphs on JavaScript. I think I'll be right back. I think this is the one that I was looking into before. It's the react-DOM bindings, and then there's React Fiber, something like that. But I think I'm trying to start from this one, which is the entry point, I think. This is what creates the react-DOM, like creates the bridge between React and react-DOM. This is this function. It's really annoying that this is warnings, but I think this is not gonna, and it's a little bit better. This is the tough thing. And that's exactly what why I'm trying to build the thing that I'm building. Is that it's so annoying to study this like complex software because of this. There's so many different, like it starts at the top and then from the top is gonna have like a bunch of different branches. So start to think about like what branch to go first and then how to go back. Because you get lost into all these functions and files. Interesting. So it uses the react-reconciler to create a container. So this is one of the functions that I think it gets overwritten by react-reconciler. And just pass the key value pair. Which is this one here. I don't know why though, they just put these ones. Maybe I should copy everything from this to there. It's pretty difficult to understand because there's so many functions connected. So I already forget, like, forgot where I was at from the point that I got here. Like the whole chain of connections of all the functions being called. And it's hard to maintain your mind. And I'm looking into these files because obviously I'm interested in the way that the event listeners work, how they are related to state. And it's gonna be really difficult to figure out. Like I almost wanna start working on the creating a parser or something like that now, just so I can study this. And the way that I'm thinking about it, creating the interpreter or the thing that is gonna create the visualization is just putting a bunch of if-else conditions based on whatever rules I want to investigate. So for example, reading the files and then putting conditions based on whether there's a function or something like that. I'm probably gonna have to search for regex patterns. I'm probably gonna use ChatGPT to do that. And then based on the regex patterns, I can parse the files and then see the functions. Because, like, if you think about it, at the end of the day, everything is just it's just gonna be a structure of logic and the only thing that it changes is gonna be the data. So, like, everything is the same, but then the differences between these functions is just the logic that they have. And then you have different function calls, which allows you to encapsulate the logic inside of a box. And then it is confusing here because you have all of these functions connected with each other, but the logic is the same. So like, it's not that it's hard to understand what is going on, it's just that it's hard to follow what's going on because you have to go inside of the functions to see what's happening, and then you lose track of the overall thing that is happening. So like, if you're able to see all the logic, I think, instead of seeing the function calls, like see how everything works inside of the same thing, then I think it becomes easier. But maybe not. Maybe. Maybe it will be better as well to look into the version that is the one after it is transpiled or compiled. The one in node modules. Because it's gonna be everything on one file, but it might be harder to understand. Weird. So I wonder where is the file that has the... Maybe it's on the reconciler or a React file. Like the thing is, maybe I should watch some videos before as well. Like stuff because I think that like the videos are not gonna talk about the stuff that I'm thinking about. Because I feel like I don't really understand really well how like the connection between the React and ReactDOM. But the thing is that the videos are gonna talk about the simple stuff, like the concepts. So yeah, like I think what I wanna clarify more is how the code that creates the JSX works, and then how does it work when it passes inside of the ReactDOM render. So yeah, that was the function that I was looking at, the create container, and then the result of that you're gonna call the render, and then from that it's gonna handle the state of the application. And I guess like it's hard for me to think about in my mind how it's working. Like when you write the components, what is the part that is responsible for, that React is responsible for, and the part that ReactDOM is responsible for. I think that React is responsible for translating the JSX, the function that has the JSX, into an object that is the DOM, which is the hierarchy with the key value pairs of each component, and then the ReactDOM is the part that updates the state based on the virtual DOM and the real DOM. So ReactDOM uses React Fiber, or the react-reconciler, which uses the fiber to update, and then React is the thing that translates the JSX into the object. But I think that React... Maybe I should look into this. Because I don't remember what is passed as an argument, and here. And Next.js doesn't show this. So the first one is the component, and the other one is the... So how does that work, I guess, is what I'm thinking. Because if it is passing the component like this, how does ReactDOM knows what this is? What is this? What is it? It's just a window of nothing. Oh no, it's here. Yeah, this goes to the type. So this is the renderer. This is the annoying thing about this, is that it goes to the type definition and not the code. But maybe... Yeah. So maybe I need to look into React first, and then I look into the DOM. It's gonna take a lot of time, that's the thing. Okay, it's hard to know which direction to go, because I feel like I need to understand this more to solve the problem there in the best way. And if I just comment out the destroy the app.destroy function inside of the amount, then it's not a good solution. And if I destroy when I'm mounting the custom component is not a good solution as well, I think. So I need to understand why does React, why in that case, like, is it something about the it shouldn't be something about the implementation of the function though, that's the thing. But maybe it can be that. Because if it is something that is a... If the problem... I guess that's what I want to figure out. If the problem is the implementation of the component will amount function, then the mistake is from the people that created the library. But if the problem is something that is fundamental in React, but it should be... Like, the problem should be the way that the function was structured. And that's what I want to figure out, is why is it a problem there in the way that they designed the library. Because on the standard React is supposed to work. Like, I think they wouldn't design... Like, it wouldn't even make sense to design React so that the parent component... When the parent component amounts, it destroys the stuff that the children are relying on. Like, that wouldn't just... It wouldn't work because it would break, so... And it's more natural that the children are going to depend on the stuff of the parent because you pass everything as props. So naturally children are going to depend more. It's more likely that children depend on more stuff, on more data from the parent than the other way. The only exception is context, or the other variations of context, but it's the same principle. So it makes sense that embedded into the fundamental logic of the React, it should be the case that it destroys first the stuff related to the children and then the parent. But the problem is that if the state is triggered on the parent, then it makes sense that the parent would amount first. So how does that... So how does that work? It might be the problem might be the pattern, the way that is structured, that, and that's the mistake there, which is that because the parent is gonna be amounted first, you should destroy everything related to the children in the component will amount for function implementation for the parent, and that's the issue. So it's like what I'm thinking about, but I'm not 100% sure. So the way to solve would be to just destroy everything related to the children, and to do that you need to call the pixie fiber, and this is the reason why there is an issue here, because this function doesn't destroy the stuff related to the children first, the instances that the children is using, because of the context. So it's a problem with the library, and I think that's the case, but I'm not 100% sure. I want to understand more. I think that's trying to clarify the main thing that I'm trying to understand, so I have focus when I'm searching for the library. Otherwise, I'm gonna get lost here because it's too many functions. The thing is that I also want to understand the event listeners, but the thing is, with the event listeners, it goes even deeper because it's the whole thing about the lecture that the guy was talking about, which is each event listener is just a set interval function, I think. Like, it's the whole event loop thing. So for the event listeners, I need to understand how they work with vanilla JavaScript, like in the fundamental level, not just obviously it's a function, but then how does that function work? How does that event listener work? So I need to understand how the event listeners are related to state, but not in a surface level of just like the events are going to trigger a change on state and it's going to change the... It's going to cause the components to initialize a cycle of mounting and unmounting and mounting. I need to understand on the like deeper level of how the code actually works. How is the fiber being called, and so I need to clarify this like in my mind exactly what I want to learn first, explore first. So maybe it's a good idea, because I don't have the thing that I'm gonna build, obviously, which is the graph visualization. I can do what I am gonna do, but do it manually now, and that will have... I think that will help me have a good idea of how to build the visualization later. So like the thing that I want to do is just pick one thing to learn now, and then as I explore these functions, I will create a graph on SkeleDraw that connects everything, like all the functions, and that shows me like a high level of how are all the functions that are related to the stuff that I want to learn connected, and what is the logic inside of them. That's what I want to do, because then instead of like looking at the whole application, I can have a better idea of how to navigate through everything, and how the code is structured. And obviously the goal is to be able to do that through the visualization, but I think for now I can do it manually there. But I need to have some direction, because otherwise I think it's too much stuff here. And this is the issue, because like this has functions that like I started on the create root, and then it goes to another function, and the other function calls several different functions, so it's like a branch of the tree increasing. And then you explore like one path, but then you forgot like what were you looking at in the previous paths, and then you have to backtrack and go back. So it's like I'm doing that first search on the exploration, and I'm learning at each node of the tree. But it would be a lot better if I could see the whole tree instead, because then I can choose like what parts of the tree I'm gonna assemble, let's say, like put everything together. Essentially I want to build a structure of a hierarchy based on the tree and based on what I want to learn. That's the key thing I think that I'm trying to do. So based on a certain goal, like learn context, learn how use context changes the state on React and causes the re-rendering of components. Based on that, like show the path of the connections, like highlight the connections. But I'm not sure if that would make it easier. Maybe it's just like, because it's... The one thing that it will do for sure is increase the dimensions that you can look at the same time. But like the thing is that the logic is always the same. Like logic doesn't change much. It's always like gonna be for loops, function calls, if statements. It's always the same stuff. So what makes it difficult when there's more code is understand the connection of everything, I think. That's the only difference between the levels. Is the way that the structure evolves. So how can I capture the essence of that? I'm gonna try to do it manually here, and then maybe I'll open SkeleDraw and I'll type the functions as I go to create like sort of a graph of the stuff that I'm trying to figure out. But I think I need to start on React first. It's here, like it's gonna receive this container, so create roots. Let me open the other stuff again. Yeah, the container is gonna be the component. No, this is the render, so it's the other thing. I think is maybe I don't have it here. Is no index.html. Oh, where was it that it creates the? I think it's creates or react.create, something like that. I think, yeah, it's gonna receive an HTML, which is gonna be the document.element, the root, which is the main div that is gonna mount everything, and then it receives options, and then from this create root is the it calls the render. A React element and container and comma. You go Brad back. think I'm gonna remove the camera. And then probably take a break now and watch videos. I'm gonna eat something. And then watch the videos that are open there. I think the main thing that I wanna explore, I'm contemplating whether or not it's better to try to study this from the standpoint, from the lens of trying to solve the problem, of looking into the functions that the React reconciler, the custom React reconciler that the React Pix is using, how does it work, the functions there, the create container, and the update container, I think. Update container and create container, I think. Like, I understand how these functions work. So study the react-DOM and React reconciler, trying to understand how these functions are connected with everything else, to try to see if I can solve the problem by calling some other function of the reconciler that would destroy the stuff on the children first. I think that's probably the way to do it, the correct way to do it. Or, because the main thing that I want to understand before this, which I think is more important, is how does React, because understanding this stuff that I'm going to talk about now would allow me to solve the problem by default. It would be a natural consequence, I think. I wasn't... Oh yeah, it's because I'm console logging somewhere there. I think here. It's interesting that this runs on the server side. Yeah, I'm console logging this stuff. So the main thing that I wanna know is why, like in standards React, what happens when a component that is a context provider gets its state updated if the parent component is unmounted first, because that is the standard. Is this us? Or maybe yeah, this is the core of the issue, I think. So like I want to understand how React handles that usually, because as far as I remember, but maybe I like never encountered this with when using normal React. But as far as I can remember, I never had a situation where the parent component that I can't remove event listeners from child components because the parent unmounted first. So I guess I can create an example here as well, where I create a context provider and then I just make a child of that, and then on the child I use I try to remove, I connect an event listener on the user fact, and then I try to remove it based on the context from the parent. Yeah. I'm not sure if I wasn't doing that with WebSockets because I think it was on the same level. Like I wasn't changing the state of the parent. That's the thing. So here it gets the thing is here is using the reconciler to create the component. The app stage, yeah, on the render cycle is gonna make the canvas on the render function. So render returns the canvas and the ref is the function. So it pretty much makes this canvas be the ref. And then at what point it should run. As on this first one, I think. So it creates based on the stage, which is app view, I think. Yeah, the stage is a display object from Pixie. So it creates the root container of the stage component based on the display object from Pixie, which is the mount node. Then it updates the container from the children. So the parent is this, the top level is the display object, and then the children is from the function, which is the provider. And that's gonna be the stage component, I think. The top level is the app stage, which is a display object. Then the children is the app provider that has this app as the context, which is the application. So whenever there is a change in state on the parent of these components, which would be this component here, the Pixie graph, is causing the rendering and re-rendering of this, which is the top. I'm not sure if I ever had a situation like this on normal React, because I'm changing the states from the parent of the app provider. Usually the way that I use context, I think, is separating or putting at the top level of the application. Yeah, I think I pretty much never used app provider inside of a I never had a parent that changed the state of the parents of an app provider. Then it's gonna cause because I'm changing the state of this actually as well directly. But I think regardless, maybe it matters which one. I think it matters which one you change the state, because it's probably gonna change the way that it renders, but maybe not. But yeah, when the state of this thing changes, on the state of when the display object changes, which is the stage, probably causes a re-render, which causes the calls of these functions again. This is another thing that is kind of tricky, because I don't know really well. I don't know for sure if that's the case. Because there's only... Yeah, I guess I can look here. But I'm pretty sure it isn't like that how it works. And that's probably why they are using the reconciler. Because here it just renders twice. In the beginning, on the server side, on the client side. But then when I click here, it renders this stuff to display, but then if you move, it doesn't render the components again. So like the state of the stage is changing, but the components are not re-rendering. So I think they should separate things. And maybe that's why is using the custom renderer, so that it makes it so that you isolate the display object from the whole application, because you don't want to trigger a bunch of re-renders every time that you change the graph. I think that's the point of using the react-reconciler. So that's the thing. So this is only gonna change. It's only gonna be mounted and unmounted when there's a change on the page that is inserted. So like the canvas is like isolated based on the react-reconciler, the custom renderer, and the components are triggered. Whatever happens inside of this thing is only triggered through an update on the parent. So maybe this is not like something usual that usually happens when you're coding, but maybe it's the same logic that it works in the same way in normal React. It's just that you almost never encounter this situation because it's not very common to do this. Because here, like the stage, the app provider is a child of the main page, the main component. So you're causing the re-rendering of the parent, which is the app provider first, and that makes the thing break. I think that's probably the core of the issue. But in a normal React application, usually that doesn't happen because the app provider is always at the top level. So when you trigger the state change, usually happens at the child, and then the child is unmounted first, and then the parent. But maybe not. Yeah, I think that wouldn't make sense, because I think that the normal way for React to work is the parent is unmounted first, and then recursively unmounts everything else, like ChatGPT said. So I'm not sure. But if that's the case, then that's the thing. Like if the parent is unmounted first, then yeah. But I never had a situation, I think, where the parent encapsulates an app provider. That's the thing. Because I think that this issue only happens when you have when one of the children is an app provider of the thing that the state changed, because it goes top down. Yeah, because if you start anywhere below the app provider, then what happens is, even though the parent is going to be unmounted first, it's not going to destroy the context, so the children are going to be able to. So I think what I have to do is test this theory, and then after I test it, I'm gonna go back to studying with this in mind, I think. So looking through all the files, just then only after I understand this, then I look into the events thing to understand how the events are going to be connected with the re-rendering cycle of React. So I think I'm going to create something here. Maybe I think I can create a different page, because then I remove everything else that might be a possible issue. I put theory, then I copy. So what I have to do is create an app provider here. Maybe it's better if I copy the context, one of the contexts. I think this one. I'll create a custom context, and then inside of the... and I wrap this provider with another thing, and then I change the state of the thing. I wrap inside of a button, let's say. I guess it doesn't need to be... I as long as I find a way to change the state of the page here, I think it's the same concept. Then I have to create a child of this, which is going to be another component. And the thing is, here it would have to be... I guess I can test with a bunch of different ways. So the thing is how I'm gonna... let me see... Yeah, because... the thing is how am I going to check for the cycles? How I'm going to console log to see the cycle? Because I want to know at what point. Maybe it's better to do a class component. I just copy the stuff that I have here. My plan is to replicate the same thing that is happening here, but without the reconciler. So I'm just gonna wrap the app provider, and I'm gonna change the state of this component. And then I'm gonna put another component inside of here, and I'm gonna see if I can remove the value. If I can destroy the app. So I think it's probably better to have a class. And the thing is, I don't want to have too many. Let's create theory app and another one. I think I'm gonna create a class here. I'll do the same thing. And then instead of using the pixie fiber, like I'll remove all this code here. I'm just gonna console log. I have to be careful to not delete the stuff that I'm gonna use. Maybe it's easier if I have all this code here, because then I can test with I can put app.destroy on the child component. So it's gonna be the same, but the only difference is gonna be the way that is rendering. So I'm gonna use normal React. So now I'm going to remove everything that is not necessary. And I'll make a fixed size so it's easier. Or maybe update size was necessary. Okay, now we need to create another component. And maybe I'll copy this one. No, actually, the page. Oh, no, actually, this one, it can be anything. So I'm just gonna change this state here. So I need to create the app here. Oh, that's the thing. Let me think. Because I need to export use app, I think. So this is the provider. All I have to do is go here. I think the only thing that I need is let me think. I need to create the theory and then pass the child theory. And then I need to create a button here to change the state. So it doesn't need to do all of these things, I think. Just gonna remove this. Or maybe I'll remove this stuff. Just leave the button here. And then I'll put the components here. Let me think about it. I think I'm gonna remove the camera. So what I have to do now, I think, is just import these components there. Actually, it's better to just copy here. Yeah. Do I use RAF here? think I'm not gonna put the recession, just to test. So what I don't know is if when I change the state of this page, what is gonna happen? Like, it's gonna mount this first and then break the code, because then this is gonna try to destroy and it's not gonna have the app anymore. Or is something else gonna happen? So hopefully it loads the page. But I think I didn't miss anything. I'm just creating the app. Obviously it doesn't have the functionality, but it doesn't matter. Provider here. Here is okay, so I think that this is it. To navigate through this page. Child theory. So I forgot to I think just delete. I think there are many other questions as well, but I think I'll just remove this. It doesn't matter. But maybe we'll fuck up the... I think it doesn't matter actually. Just remove everything. What? Hmm. I don't want to create a custom class just for this. Maybe I'll grab the class, put it in the same file, and then like just so I can have the... But the problem is that it's not gonna be the same thing because it's not gonna have the event listeners. But I guess the main thing that I want to see is if the way that it's gonna mount and unmount the components. Like if it is gonna allow it to destroy, to call the destroy method or not. But maybe the event listeners are part of the reason why it doesn't allow. That's the thing. Pretty interesting stuff. Let me see if I comment the application is gonna change anything. If I comment out the destroy. I think it's gonna fail on the off method. Huh. Now it renders. Interesting. Where's the button? Canvas. Maybe I didn't put. Oh, it's this button here. Display graph. Yeah. So now it renders, but if I don't put there, it becomes 0. So, but it's a different error that I'm getting. That's the interesting thing. Let me go here. Yeah, why is the child not being weird? I just has the canvas. I guess it's because it's inside of the class component, but let me think. Maybe that's why it has to be a... Oh, but the other one has components as well. It's not just the custom PC component. It has the world and the other shape components, so it shouldn't be anything like that. But maybe they are not returning JSX or returning HTML. The shape component. Yeah, it just returns the graphics. Interesting stuff. So I think the only way to have children inside of the stage is if I return a pixie element, I think. Because it's gonna be a display object. So it's not like it's, even though there's a state here, it's not like it's a normal HTML element. So let's see if I put nothing, if it's gonna show anything there. It doesn't show anything. And the problem is that this is gonna use the custom renderer react-reconciler. I guess it's interesting to see if it's possible to do that or not. So why is it not? I guess it's much better to just use the custom components that I have. But the thing is, like it should be mounting and unmounting, because on the road it says mounted and unmounted. It's probably because of the but it is, yeah, I don't know actually why. It should be showing something. It should be showing this thing here. In theory would be this stage, so I think is on the other example I have another component, and then instead of the thing I have both components in the same file, but it shouldn't change anything, I think. In this case they are on the different files. I press here. I think it's just because I removed the functionality, so the children the child components are not rendered because there's nothing there. I think that's the issue. On the other one, I'm using, like, it's not yeah, it is like the world, which has the engine, but which it is a like kind of a React component, but it's not the. Okay, it's different, I think. Because all of these components are returning Pixie.js components. So this is the only one that doesn't, but then this just returns the engine context. So it's not the same thing as having like a component that has. But even like on this one, it shows the use effect. It shows the world mounted. So I think the explanation is that is because of the app. Because I removed the functionality from the file. So let's see. If by getting the same one, I guess it's just from here. Use oh, actually, it would have to be. Oh, let me think. Yeah, it's not gonna work because it's the parent one that I have to change, and then it defeats the purpose of doing this. Yeah, interesting. So let me go back. But it's interesting that I get the other. I got another error there for this try here. And I don't understand why. But I guess like the nature of the problem maybe is the same thing, but maybe it's different. And the main thing that I'm changing is obviously that now I'm using the standard React and the other one uses the react-reconciler to mount and unmount. But that shouldn't have any difference in the app, I think. So let me think. But maybe it does because like it's obviously related to the cycles because when I don't destroy it doesn't give me the message, and when I destroy it gives me the message. What if I comment out the shout here? No, it's still the same thing. And the thing is that it's not rendering the children there. Even though I'm using the app. And it should be re-rendering anyway when I change the state of the parent. So I think what I'm gonna try to do is just create a different class. I need to think about something that is easy to create and has like a similar effect that I can destroy here. Because if I just put an object or something like that, then I guess I can delete the object on the amount. The main thing is creating the context and then creating a class here and destroying the class. Because the thing that I want to test is the cycle. How is gonna render the parents and the child and the children, and if it's gonna allow me to destroy the app here if I destroy on the main one. So let me think about it. I do like this. Anything changes? Okay. Now looks like now at least is rendering. But I don't get why it's not. Oh, maybe it's because I commented on it. Yeah. Let's see if now. I'm gonna try to change now. Let's try to render a div here. Oh, that's really weird. Like it renders the component, but then it doesn't do anything with the. So let's see if I pass props here. I don't understand. Why is not showing anything now, the children? Or maybe it's because I didn't change. No, nothing. I think it's because it doesn't have, it's not showing. Yeah, just the canvas. Like it doesn't show anything. That's why. So let me think. How can I do this? It is interesting though. Because now I know that everything inside of the stage is gonna be a display object. That's the only way that it's gonna be rendered. So it allows you to put state inside, but then you have to return a display object, I think, in order to be able to render on the stage. So I guess that's the fundamental difference. Yeah, but so I still want to test like on a normal circumstance. So let me do something else here. Like I want to think about if this was a... It's like if this was a normal component and this is a normal component. Oh, that's the other thing that I forgot. The other way was using the reconciler to put the provider. That's the other thing. So maybe it's just easier to create the context and then pass. I don't know if this is a waste of time, like just to make it, but I think it's probably worth it. But I have to think about an easier way, like just to pass the context and then just to test. I don't need everything else. Let me think. I think I'm gonna export the provider and then... But then I wouldn't use the thing there. I need to think about a way to replace the thing. Maybe I just use a normal event listener instead of using a class. But then how would I set that? Because it has to be the value of a provider. And the easiest thing to do is just create the provider on this page here, and then I just put provider here. That's what I'm gonna do now. Don't forget about the other thing. So I have to export from here, I think. So now I think I can... Let me think about it. I need to remove the... I guess that's the thing. I think I need to introduce another layer. That's the problem. I did the stuff on the... because this one is already... I was already using this one, this file. So let me think. I need to remove the event listener, or figure out a way to destroy the context. I guess I will leave like this for now. Yeah, but and that's the thing, it's not gonna be an element. So I'm just gonna set the thing. So what? Here's context. I don't understand what is going on. Set of body of function components. Theory page. It is inside of the function. I guess it's not a component. But why does it work here? Oh, it's because of the provider. No, but it should be... Look, it's the same thing that I'm doing here. If I put this in the bottom there, after I export. The thing is, I'm not really sure if it's worth it to... Like, I'm just trying to put the minimum amount of effort possible just to test the cycle thing. I'm not sure if it's worth putting a bunch of time into this. But maybe it is, because it's more effective than... It's more effective to do this before and then study the source code than to study the source code before. Because I think this stuff is easier to do. Let me.
Hey guys, I should be.
I think I'm gonna stop streaming here, being here almost 3 hours. I think I'm just gonna watch these videos off stream. And then I'm gonna contemplate on whether or not it's worth it to figure out. The main thing that I am trying to do here is just recreate the same scenario, but in a normal React way, where it's not gonna be using the reconciler. So just create a class on the component mounts or on the data update. Then create the context. And like have a parent element, then the context as the app provider as a child, and then have a child of that, and then on the parent destroy the class when it's mounting and create a class. So essentially what I want to see is what is going to happen with the value of the context when the component mounts. Like in normal React circumstances, without using a custom renderer, is the parent component going to be mounted first, and then like when it destroys the app, is it going to break on the child component when the child component is trying to access the context that doesn't exist anymore? Or is it something else that is going to happen? But I want to test this in the simplest way possible, obviously. So maybe I'll search another class as well to do this. Because I have... It needs to be a class, I think, that has a method to destroy a class. Like, that's the thing, it has to be similar to this thing here. But I don't want to spend a bunch of time just creating this example. It's not sure if it's worth it or not. So I think I'm gonna do this off stream. Yeah, I'm probably gonna come back tomorrow and continue to study this stuff here. So, see you soon.